We finally ready? All right, good. Oh, this thing's been just acting like a piece of shit today. Okay. So this is not the Fat Electrician, but it is his channel. It's the Fat Files. And this is the chicken conspiracy robbing Americans of the Toyota Hilux? Hilux? I have no idea. So, let's get into it. Oh, sorry.
Just one.
Before I get started, I'm switching things up. There's a thanks button on the channel. You can donate. You don't have to. Subscribe if you aren't. Click the bell. That helps. And give a thumbs up if nothing else. You can also request things. There you go. Video.
Once in my life, I would like to go to the internet with a question and have my question answered without falling into an enormous rabbit hole of government conspiracies and nonsense. Okay, long story short, Toyota's got this new truck coming out. It's just a flatbed, plain Jane work truck, nothing fancy about it, and it was supposed to be like $10,000 or $11,000 brand new. So naturally, I wanted one. So naturally, I go to the internet with a simple question: am I going to be able to buy this new Toyota truck in America? To which I am met with the answer: probably not. Most likely for the same reason you can't buy a Toyota Hilux, which is the other thing that's been pissing me off for 10 years inside of America. And naturally, in the back of my head, I just kind of assumed like, oh, Toyota just doesn't want to sell that truck in America for some reason. Maybe the money's not right, it costs too much to import, whatever. And yeah, it does cost too much to import, but it's because of chickens and Lyndon B. Johnson. That's why.
What's that? Nick's so mad he forgot to send me a segue for the ad. Well, that means we gotta do it, right? Yeah. I don't know what that was. Play the ad. Me?
This video is sponsored by Aura, where you can get everything you need to be safe and productive online in one convenient location. When you sign up for Aura, you're going to get a password manager that's going to help you have a strong and unique password for every online account that you have. In addition to that, you're also going to get antivirus software as well as a VPN.
Thanks, Aura.
Resolve the issue. So go ahead and use my link down below. You're going to get a 14-day free trial with Aura. Let's get back to the video. Okay. And I can hear the comment section already. Buh, if you want a Hilux, just get a Tacoma. They're basically the same thing. Buh. No, they are not, for multiple reasons. For one, I've driven a Tacoma, and it is literally the slowest moving vehicle I have ever driven in my entire life. That thing accelerates from 0 to 60 in like 3 to 5 business days, okay? Fucking Fred Flintstone would beat that thing in a drag race. Secondly, I don't vividly remember being 14 years old watching Top Gear with my dad and seeing those guys drop a fucking Tacoma into the ocean for 8 hours, fishing it out, and then getting it started in like 15 minutes. And then because that wasn't enough to kill it, they decided they were going to hit it with a wrecking ball, drive it through a building, light it on fire, and then stick it on top of a skyscraper before blowing the entire building up with it. And then the motherfucker still started, okay? Tacomas are not on the same level as Hiluxes. I don't care what you say, you will never convince me otherwise. It is the equivalent of my mom trying to convince me that store brand toaster pastries are Pop-Tarts. No, they're not. Pop-Tarts are Pop-Tarts, and Pop-Tarts are fucking awesome. And you want to know why I can't get my metaphorical Pop-Tart? Why I can't own and drive my own Toyota Hilux? It's because America was too good at selling chickens in the 1950s and 60s. Yeah, that's why. Okay, so here's the deal. Generally speaking, throughout the majority of human history, chickens have always been like super expensive and
You gotta say, my internet is not doing great, but that was a great pause that internet gave us to soak in the chicken comment.
Is only something that rich people got to eat until very recently, which, think about it for a second, it starts to make a little bit more sense. You have like cows and goats and llamas and whatever other fucking farm animals you have, and they just basically wander around and they eat the grass, okay? That's not very expensive. Then you have pigs. You could literally just feed them garbage and they'll turn it into bacon somehow through evolutionary magic. Chickens, on the other hand, you have to like feed them grain and like actually give them real food that a human could technically eat. So historically speaking, they've always been one of the more expensive farm animals, so only rich people got to eat them. Then in the 1950s, after World War II, thanks to refrigeration and a couple of other innovations, America got super good at raising chickens. They got so good, in fact, that we could raise chickens, slaughter them in America, ship them across a fucking ocean while refrigerating them, and sell them in Europe, and it was still cheaper than people could grow and raise chickens in Europe, so Europe was eating a bunch of American chicken.
So they had too much cock?
I guess that's one way to put it. Why?
Just never thought I'd hear that come out of my mouth.
Anyways, this goes on for a number of years, and the European countries, primarily Germany was spearheading this entire thing. They get together and they're like, hey, let's put a 25% tariff on American chicken coming into the European market. That way, European chicken is more competitive. And if that wasn't enough, they started a major propaganda campaign basically saying that America fills their chickens full of antibiotics and growth hormones, so it's really unhealthy for people to eat, which, I mean, honestly, that's probably a fair assessment. But regardless, America's now pissed off. So this is 1962 when this European tariff on American chicken passes, and for the next 18 months, it is the pinnacle of American politics, trying to get Europe to buy more American chickens, and it becomes known as the Chicken War, right in the middle of the Cold War. I'm not even exaggerating. There were literally American politicians that cared more about getting Europeans to eat more chicken.
I don't know what's going on with the internet. I do apologize. I can see it's moving along. I'm just gonna fill some time. Hey, did you know that if you walk around the street naked, people can see you? Yeah, I was mind blown as well. I thought that was in my invisibility cloak. Turns out, not true. All right, back to the video.
Than they did about the pending nuclear war with the Soviet Union. The Chancellor of Germany, Konrad Adenauer, said that he had more conversations with JFK about Germans eating American chicken than he did about the pending nuclear war. There was a senator from Arkansas that was sitting in a NATO meeting when he stood up, interrupted the entire NATO meeting, and declared that America was going to withdraw from NATO and Europe could defend itself if they didn't lift the sanctions on American chicken. Obviously, that didn't actually happen. Despite that, the tariff ended up staying up, and after 18 months of trying to diplomatically solve this issue, then President Lyndon B. Johnson is like, fuck it, I'm just going to put a tariff on you guys too, and he put a 25% tariff on potato starch, dextrin, brandy, and light cargo vehicles. Now, obviously, chicken is a food product, which they are tariffing, so America is going to tariff dextrin, potato starch, and brandy, which are also food products. That part makes sense, but why on earth is America going to start taxing light cargo vehicles? Well, you see, that's where the good old-fashioned political corruption comes in, because it's 1964, it's an election year, and the UAE is about to go on strike. The United Automotive Workers Union, and them going on strike during an election year is going to be disastrous for Lyndon B. Johnson's chances of getting reelected. So LBJ and the president of the UAE come to a little quid pro quo agreement. In exchange for the UAE not going on strike during LBJ's election, LBJ is going to abuse his political power to make sure that somehow, some way, so many Volkswagen Type 2s, which are incredibly popular in America right now, quit getting imported, aka the Love Bus. You know, you've seen those. This is where they went. They went away because of this. So this is why light cargo vehicles gets added to the chicken tax, adding a 25% tariff to basically make it so that Germany can...
I always wonder what happened to those vehicles. We didn't have one, but you saw them. Growing up, you saw stuff like this. I just figured it was kind of like a fad. F-A-D. E? No, that's fade. F-A-D. Yeah. I mean, it's 3 letters away from what could get my channel canceled. But, yeah, I just assumed it was a kind of a fad.
Can't import the Type 2. Now, light cargo vehicle at this point in time is defined as 2 seats or less and designed to transport cargo. So then, because of that, all the foreign auto car makers like Toyota and Honda and all the other ones that make small trucks, not wanting to pay a 25% tax to import their trucks, start importing the truck itself, like the chassis and the cab and the motor, all completely built in their country, and then they ship over the bed separately, and then they have a warehouse where they like throw a couple of bolts on and attach the bed, so that way it's assembled in America and they're only going to get taxed 4% instead of 25% because the US government is this fucking stupid. So then in the 1980s, the US government closes that loophole, to which all the other auto car makers are like, fine, we'll just exploit another loophole, we'll just start adding more seats, so that way there's more than 2 seats, so it's not a cargo vehicle, it's just a normal vehicle. And this is why
I was going to say, you could add more seats, but make them removable at the same time for, storage or whatever. Just remove the seats, you're back to where you were.
small to mid-sized truck, 1980s through like the early 2000s, had those tiny little seats in the back that no human could ever actually fit on. It's because they were never actually designed for people to sit on. They were just there so that they could legally say, oh, it's designed to sit more than 2 people, therefore I get taxed at 4% instead of 25%, again, because the government is dumb. Which, fun fact,
my parents, I apologize, my parents, we went from Peoria to Niagara Falls in a truck, like a Ford Ranger, something like that. It was the bench seat up front, and then there was a little space in the back, and that's where I went. The best part about it, I had to sit sideways. My shoulder was touching the back of the seat, and my other shoulder was touching the metal. There was a window there. It probably was, I was a kid, so it wasn't super tight. I could, do this, but at each corner they had fold down seats, made it a 4-seater. You could sit on there and be sideways, like the passengers like right here, and they're looking that way, and you're looking at the other person who'd be sitting there. And the seat was a little plastic seat. It wasn't very big. It was that long, and just as wide. It was a good butt cheek. It was terrible. I sat on the floor the whole time. Couldn't do that now. I sat on the floor the whole time playing with my G.I. Joes.
This is also why the Subaru Brat had those stupid plastic seats in the back. And then they came out with the CAFE standards, which is basically like trying to, save the environment with emissions and stuff. And the rule was the vehicle has to be like proportional compared to how much emission that it emits, I guess. So like if a truck is really big, it can emit a bunch of CO2 into the atmosphere. But if a truck is really small, it's not allowed to emit a bunch of CO2 into the atmosphere. And this is actually why all the trucks in America are fucking ginormous lately in like the last 20 years. Okay, I know that's like a super popular thing to bitch about. Like you hear a bunch of hippies and college kids bitching about how American trucks are too big and it's more dangerous and they're taking up space on the road and they're beating up the infrastructure. Yeah, it's because of stupid fucking emissions policies, because it's easier for automakers to just make the truck physically fucking larger than it is to make the emissions somehow magically lower. So that's why that's happening. So not only is the CAFE standards not helping with emissions and CO2, it's actually incentivizing automakers to make trucks unnecessarily ridiculously large just so they can comply with this law. And I know what you're thinking, well, at least the chicken tax is helping American automakers compete in the market so that they can make more money and stay in business. And that's just not the case anymore either, because even they're getting fucked over by this law. Because when Ford tries to import transit vehicles, which they have made over in Turkey, they have to intentionally put extra seats and windows and shit inside of it, import it, and then send them to a factory and have all the seats and windows taken out and convert it back into a fucking cargo vehicle. This is why all the transit vans and shit that are super popular are really fucking expensive, and this is why my work that I work at to be an electrician can't ever find a goddamn transit van to use as a work truck, because A, they're getting way more expensive because we're having to import them with extra seats so they're not cargo vehicles, because somehow that saves money, and then my boss is desperately trying to compete with all the fucking millennials that want to go live in a van and start an Instagram so they can have hashtag van life in every fucking picture they post. This policy is literally helping nobody. Nobody on the planet is benefiting right now except for maybe the government so that they can get more tax money over fucking nothing, okay? Potatoes, dextrin, all that other shit, all that shit's gone. They're not tariffing that anymore. That tax went away. It's just on cargo vehicles now, and it's for no reason. And you're like, oh, this fucking fat electrician guy is just misrepresenting the entire situation because he's angry that he can't own a Toyota truck that he wants. No, that's not it. In 2003, the Cato Institute researched the entire thing. This is 21 years ago, by the way. They did all the research and they came to the conclusion, and I quote, "The chicken tax is a policy that is in search of a rationale. There's no fucking reason for this law to exist other than to fuck people over." I have literally spent the last...
Here's why it exists. They put a tariff on us. We're going to put a tariff on them. That's it. The only thing is, I think down the road, the government was like, we still have that? Seriously? And they're like, yeah, we do. Hey, I got an idea. Shut up. And silence. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I think it just comes down to it's almost like, how long can we have that tariff up there before somebody says something about it?
3 days of my life successfully wrapping my entire brain around this issue and come to the conclusion it's so fucking stupid that it's driving me insane. This is literally the epitome of government intervention. What's the problem? Oh, Germany's not eating enough American chicken. Don't worry, the government's gonna step in and help. Fast forward 70 years. Guess what? Germany's still not eating enough American chicken, but you're not allowed to own a Toyota Hilux either. Oh, good. I'm literally getting cock-blocked from owning my dream car. Thank you. I'll be honest, I don't even understand how I got here. Like, I woke up one morning, there was like, oh, hey, Toyota's coming out with a new truck that's going to be super cheap and cool. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to be allowed to buy it. And next thing I know, I'm fucking the internet's crazy uncle on Thanksgiving somehow. I need a beer. Okay, this is too much. I gotta go. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some.
It's interesting. I've seen a couple of those really small cars, and I've been told, no, you can't have them. Not that I was looking for them, but, you know, I was told they don't go above like 75. I'm not saying this Toyota Hilux doesn't go above 75 bare minimum in terms of this, but, you know, in terms of gas, oh, it's like 60 miles a gallon. You know, it's great. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't make any sense as to why it can't be in America. Well, that explains it. This country is just stupid. Warheads on foreheads? What? Warheads on foreheads. There you go. Okay, we're going to end this video here. Sorry, I had to eat some pizza. I had to eat dinner. So, hope you enjoyed. And until next time, have a good day, have a good night.